Hello friends, today we are going to discuss about PT writing task 2, which is your essay writing task. Uh, Under section 5 and 6 of your PT index, you will get two essays to write. You may get only one essay to write as well. It depends on the number of questions or the format of test you have. If you have like three summaries to write, you may only get one essay, to write in 20 minutes. Mostly it is seen that you might have to write two summaries and two essays, or just one summary and two essays. So such is the case. Now when you have to write PT essay, you have to be careful of the time limit. For most of the people, it is convenient to type on the computer, but for few, it is not that convenient to finish every bit of the essay in 20 minutes. While you have to write at the same time, you have to write 200 to 300 words. In terms of time limit, you have to practice and be efficient. You got to do deliberate tasks, maybe 2 to 3 essays a day you should practice, so that in order to perform well in the exam, you can you can work according to this. And then you have the word limit. So in order to understand the word limit, we have to see what varieties of words, vocabulary and lexical resource we utilize, and the words which would enhance your coherence of the essay, or your answer, or your response. So all these things we'll be discussing in the coming time. So let's begin with the question task. Now if you look at the screen, you'll get this is the questions from the test series of PTPL, published by PT academic people. So I've taken this from that source, and if you can look at the questions, you the question, the instruction gives you details about the time limit, and you also get the details of you should write 200 to 300 words. So that is the detail of your word limit. Okay, and it also says your response will be judged on how well you develop a position, organize your ideas, present supporting details, and control the elements of standard written English. When they say standard written English, they mean academic English, where you have to be careful of the choice of words you make. For example, words such as want, kids, like these words, they come under, they are not utilized in the academic writing task. For example, lot many people use like in giving examples. So in place of like, we use such. In place of kids, we should use children or young persons or young ones. You can write, instead of using want, you should write required or preferred, such kind of vocabulary. There are also people who would write folks instead of people, instead of persons, instead of masses. So it is better to write people instead of folks, because we have to be careful when they say standard written English, because it is more or less professional stuff, so you have to present it in a proper way. That is one part. However, we will be discussing it in detail in the coming, when you will start writing the essays. Now if you look at the question number 1, you may get one particular essay to write, or you may get two essays to write. The first thing you should notice when you would begin writing an essay is the structure of the essay. So my session today is basically based on the structure of writing task, or structure of essay writing. You may interchangeably use it in IELTS, or you may want to use it in PT. It is all acceptable throughout the world. Now, if you look at the question, it says, as a result of advances in medical care, average life expectancy is increasing for men and women. Do you think most people will see this as a positive development? And you have the second half as well. So when you notice, there are two questions. So this would be categorized as two-part question. Two-part question. Okay. Obviously, it has two question marks, so you have to structure it accordingly. And it is, when I say two-part question category, so it's a category out of 5 different types of your uh, essay writing task. Now that is the first thing. If you look at the other one, you will be able to differentiate what I was trying to say. Now, schools should prepare students for university rather than for work. How far do you agree with this statement? There is only one particular question based on the stem that they provide here. Okay, so these are now two. This is your opinion essay. Out of 5 categories, the first one I would say is the opinion essay. Okay, while two-part question, advantages and disadvantages, you may say discussion essays, and their problem and solution essays. Those are the other categories. So if you want to have a look, you can have a look here, right? So these are the five most common IELTS writing tasks too. How I may say IELTS, but as I said, you can interchangeably use it for PTE as well. There would be no reduction of marks. There would be no bias criteria because writing task is just writing task. Essay writing is it is a global phenomenon, global aspect of your written assessment. So it will have all the standards covered. All right. So now, just give me a second. So we were talking about the structures of the types of questions writing tasks do you get. So the moment you look at the questions, you should be able to identify under what category the question the essay comes into out of these five categories or types of essays. Right now, the point of sharing these types of essays with you is to understand how these essays are written. So let's say if the question says, when a country develops its technology, the traditional skills and ways of life die out. It is pointless to try and keep them alive. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this opinion? This is your opinion essay which we are discussing today. Basically, we are starting with this. So you might have to read it and just enlarge the screen so that you can will notice it. Here. So if you can read it, when a country develops its technology, the traditional skills and ways of life die out. It is pointless to try and keep them alive. So if you say yes, it is pointless to, you need to read the stem properly. So if it says it is pointless to try and keep them alive, so you are basically agreeing to the fact. But people, those who believe that traditional skills should be saved or preserved and should be taught to the youngsters or the coming generation, they would disagree with the opinion. So if you can understand the question, that is one bit of it. Whatever we are going to discuss now is the structure, how you're going to structure it. So you see, the main question for us is the root is to what extent do you agree or disagree with the opinion, with this opinion. Now, since this is an opinion essay, you have to clearly mention your stance in the beginning itself. I'm trying to get to the. Okay, sorry, one sec here. All right, again. So just a second, and maybe one more time. All right. So this is your sample answer. So I have, prepared a list of the published model answers. You can say these answers are around 80 plus band worth answers or marks worth answer. In terms of IELTS, if you talk, it is easily a very good answer. So it is basically meant to be around 8.5 band value. Now, if you look at this structure here, as I said, this is an opinion essay. It means that you have to straight away write your opinion, or you may write your opinion in the introduction. Introduction basically, has three distinct, the sentences or the structure. The basic the construction is. So if you look at the template, so you will find that writing the introduction is not that difficult. It's the first sentence that you should begin with is your main is the paraphrasing from the question. Okay, so for the paraphrasing, you have to basically use or you may just write the keywords which are mentioned in this stem according to yourself, or you just try to write the whole question in your own words. Basically, that is what it is. Paraphrasing is. The second thing is your general statement. If you can look at this here, the template, it has the general statement, which is the second part of your introduction or second sentence of your introduction. You have to generalize the topic, or generally put a condition where you may say that some people believe this, some people may not believe this, or some people argue with this. So likewise, if you work, you will get to know how to structure or how to construct your introduction. More or less that is one part, but the reason we are discussing it here is to write your opinion in the introduction itself. That is the most important point, as it is mentioned here, like in the point 3. In my opinion, I agree with this or I disagree with this. Now, getting back to the question, you also have to understand what does the stem says. It says to what extent do you agree or disagree with this. So you even have to mention the extent, right? As in this case, the person has mentioned the extent, which is overall. This it means that the person completely disagree with the fact or the opinion expressed. Now, so that is one part. The most important part of your opinion essay again is reiterating your opinion in the conclusion. If we can look at it here, right? So whatever stand you take, you have to justify it in your body paragraphs. After justifying it, you may begin with an idea, you can elaborate it. I will discuss this in coming in few minutes, but you will have to justify your stance, then you will come to the conclusion. Remember, your opinion, the introduction and conclusion are just 5 to 10% of your total structure, total essay structure, right? So if you are having, if you put an elaborated introduction, you can cut down your conclusion, or if you write, or vice versa, you just have to figure out that you're not writing too many words in your introduction or conclusion. Sorry, I'm just having my tea. It might sound typical to you guys, but yes, no worries. Now have a look at the. Uh, this is the basic structure. Now have a look at how the person has developed the body paragraphs. Let's say if you are taking a stance and then you are suggesting that okay, this is what you believe in. So if you agree with the task or you disagree with the task, the ideal way to approach is with the first body paragraph is you just have to question yourself when you write it. You got to question yourself that why do you agree with the fact or why you disagree with the fact. So you got to justify it that way, that yes, the first and foremost reason to disagree with the fact is that it has so many aspects to it or it might not be suitable for people. Then you may elaborate that idea, right? If the person says here that he disagrees with the fact that it is not important for us to preserve our traditional skills, because naturally lot many people of us would say suggest that okay, yes, we should maintain the traditional skills and teach them to the coming generation. So this person here has given the ideas how and why it is required to uh, you know uh, promulgate or forward these skills to the youngsters, because he suggests that these technologies which we see these days has lot many advances, but this, yes, they are like negatively, they are the they have some disadvantage, I mean negative aspects as well. I may not be using disadvantage and advantage words here because that would be selectively the part of your advantages and disadvantages essay. Remember, no discussion word is also used here because that it will come under the other category of the essay writing. So when they say opinion essay, it's just opinion essay. You may not be using words like discussion, advantages, disadvantages, like that. Okay, once the person has mentioned the reasons, justified it, the person can elaborate by giving examples how the things can be used in a better way, or how the point or the stance can be supported by giving an example. So very clearly the person has suggested why it is important to the past traditional skills to the coming generation, and how the technologies can be used to support the support saving of the traditional skills, and he has given the examples for that, or maybe just an example, right? So this is one way of doing it. You obviously have this thing on the screen, so you can go about it, you can work it out, and then you can ask whatever questions you have. All right. Now, there are people who would say, what if, how many points I should write in support, how many points I should not write, or maybe how many points I should write in the counter argument, or just countering by just countering the argument. So that is one thing. Now, when you develop an essay, you have to be clear what you want to write, what you want to, what stand are you taking. So if your stand is suggestive of two or three points you are going to elaborate, and you basically should, the way, for example, here the person has put suggested that yes, some technologies such as weapons and weapons of mass destruction are of negative impact. So this is some, like, suggestive of why the person do not want to, why the person is is not agreeing with the fact, because the technology has its flaws as well. So in the same manner, you have to be carefully designing and structuring your essay, and work it out properly. More or less, you have to suggest why you disagree with the fact. So you may say that there are not many advantages of traditional skills. People use them in their daily life. All these traditional skills are actually the means of earning for a lot many people in India, especially countries like India. Okay, so that is the way of writing it. However, you may say that yes, lot many, you may put a count, as I was talking about the counter argument. You may say that the counter argument uh, is can be put as the traditional skills may not be appreciated very well by the modern generation. But yes, uh, uh, there are instances where people can earn more, they can live better when they just follow the modern technology. So such one or two lines can be added here in case if you want to add them, because in this essay the person himself has already given the counter argument here, why the weapons of mass destruction are not good, and why and how these this technology is helping in a way to preserve traditional ways. So it is more or less suggestive of how the person has used the counter argument in benefiting or in supporting his own stance. All right, so this is your opinion essay, and right, remember, be selective of the words you choose. You may have to be careful in order to make all the structures. Remember the use of conjunctions, all these things are properly added. Let's see, for example, interestingly here, how this phrase is written in many ways. It is just a matter of connecting back to the question or to the previous paragraph. So in that way, these phrases are used. You can also look at the usage of other conjunctions such as it surely, and right, and then you have rather than, okay, in addition, right. Also be careful of the number of ands you use, because lot many time people use lot many, they just keep repeating the words and like that. So you got to be careful of that. And also remember, in conclusion, you have to reiterate your stance. So whatever you have quoted earlier, let's say here, you have to just reiterate or re-strengthen it. Okay, and yeah, if any questions you have, you can all obviously ask me. You can also subscribe this, my link, my the subscribe this, what we call it, the YouTube position that I have here, and you can also let me know if any questions, if you want to ask, or if you want to discuss other types of essays. Thank you. Thank you very much.